Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by telling you something that changed my life. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. You see, the world doesn't pay you for what you know, it pays you for what you do with what you know. And the only way to stay sharp, to stay ahead, to stay valuable, is to educate yourself every day. Now, I'm not talking about sitting in a classroom or collecting degrees like trophies, no. I'm talking about becoming a student of life, every single day. A student of your craft, a student of people, a student of finances, a student of success and failure, a student of yourself. You've got to learn deliberately. Feed your mind the way you feed your body. If you miss a meal, you'll feel it by evening. But miss a week of reading, listening, growing, and you may not even realize what it's costing you until it's too late. So here's what I want you to do. Develop the habit of daily education. Make it part of your lifestyle, not just your routine. It doesn't take hours, just a few consistent minutes of intentional learning every day. Reading a chapter, listening to a podcast, watching a lecture, journaling your thoughts, can change the trajectory of your life. Because every day you're either building or decaying, learning or lagging. You don't stay the same. You either go forward or fall behind. So educate yourself every day. Why? Because the more you learn, the more you can earn. And I don't just mean money. I mean influence, confidence, vision, character. Become so skilled, so knowledgeable, so valuable that the marketplace can't ignore you. And remember this, your future is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. And the best choice you can make is to grow yourself every day. Self-education is more powerful than formal education. Let that idea sink in. Formal education is important. It provides structure, a baseline, a beginning. It teaches us how to think, how to follow instructions, how to meet deadlines, and how to absorb and reproduce information. It opens the door, but it doesn't carry you through it. You see, formal education will get you in the game. It might land you your first job, your first role, your first paycheck. But it's self-education that builds your future. The real difference between ordinary and extraordinary doesn't happen in the classroom. It happens after the classroom, in your own hands. Self-education is when you take control of your growth. It's what happens when no one is assigning homework and yet you still decide to read the book. It's what happens when there's no test coming, but you still choose to take notes. It's when you look around at your life and say, if I want better, I've got to become better. The person who reads for 30 minutes a day will outgrow the person who hasn't read a book since graduation. The person who listens to podcasts on leadership or finance or communication during their commute will eventually run circles around the person who only listens to music. Why? Because they're feeding their mind, they're sharpening their tool. The truth is, we live in an age where access to knowledge is almost free. And certainly everywhere. Courses, books, interviews, mentors. So much of it is at your fingertips. But here's the catch. No one is coming to force you to learn it. That's where self-education steps in. It's self-driven. It's voluntary. And because it's voluntary, it's powerful. You've got to decide that you're worth the investment. You've got to tell yourself, if I grow me, I grow everything around me. Your income, your relationships, your confidence, your ability to lead, they all grow when you grow. That's the secret. A degree might give you credentials, but self-education gives you competence. A certificate might get you hired, but self-education makes sure you stay relevant. Formal education teaches you how to do a job. Self-education teaches you how to create a life. It teaches you how to pivot, how to innovate, how to lead, how to think independently. Skills that are becoming more valuable every day. You don't need a classroom. All you need is a hunger to know more today than you did yesterday. Start with 10 pages of a good book. One video on a skill you want to learn. One article on something you want to understand. One conversation with someone smarter than you. One journal entry reflecting on what you've learned. Do that every day. And in a year, you won't recognize yourself. People often say, I don't have time, but the truth is they have time. They've just given it away to distractions. If you turn some of your scrolling time into studying time, your life would look completely different in 12 months. Self-education doesn't require more hours. It requires better decisions in the hours you already have. So remember, the classroom may have prepared you for the world, but it's your commitment to keep learning that will allow you to conquer it. Never let your growth be limited by the end of a school term. Learning isn't something you do to get a diploma. Learning is what you do to get a better life. And the most successful people, they never stopped learning. They educated themselves every single day, and that's why they stand where they stand. And you can knowledge alone isn't power. Applied knowledge is. That statement might surprise you at first, especially if you've spent years collecting information, attending seminars, or reading book after book. But the truth is, information that stays in your head and never reaches your hands has no real value. It's like owning a shelf full of tools but never picking one up to fix, build, or improve anything. Think about it. You can know everything there is to know about fitness macros, reps, cardio, recovery. But if you never exercise, your body doesn't change. You can memorize every financial principle, budgeting, investing, compound interest. But if you never save a dollar, your bank account stays the same. You can read about leadership, study it, analyze it. But if you never take initiative, influence people, or face challenges, you're not a leader. Knowledge has potential. It's the seed. But until you plant it, water it, and work it, it doesn't grow. Applied knowledge, that's the real power. That's when transformation happens. That's when results begin to show. It's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know that changes your life. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need to know everything to make a difference. You just need to apply what you already know. Most people are waiting to know more before they act. But waiting leads to stagnation. It's the person who takes the little they've learned and puts it into action, however small, however imperfect, that begins to grow. You don't need another book before you start. You need to act on the last one you read. You don't need another video on how to start. You need to start with what you already have. Knowledge is only the first half of the equation. Execution is the second half. And that's where the reward lives. Let me tell you something about the world we live in. We are drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. The internet has made learning easier than ever. But it's also made it easy to confuse knowing with doing. Just because you've watched 100 motivational videos doesn't mean you're disciplined. Just because you've studied productivity doesn't mean you're productive. And just because you understand the theory doesn't mean you've mastered the practice. Action is what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's the missing ingredient for most people. Not passion, not intelligence, implementation. And here's the irony. The moment you start applying what you know, you begin to learn even more. Application deepens understanding. Doing sharpens thinking. When you use what you've learned, it sticks. It becomes part of you. You begin to realize what works and what doesn't. You get feedback. You get results. And you get motivation to keep going. Not from inspiration alone, but from progress. There's something powerful about seeing even the smallest outcome from applying a piece of knowledge. It gives you momentum. It tells you, hey, this stuff actually works. So stop hoarding information. Stop saying, I'll start when I know enough. You already know enough to take a step. You already have enough insight to make a move. That small step may lead to the next big breakthrough. But it won't happen until you leave the comfort of theory and enter the world of action. Because at the end of the day, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is potential power. Only when it's applied does it become useful, impactful, and transformational. So take what you know and put it to work. That's where the power is. Feed your mind daily like you feed your body. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most overlooked principles of personal growth. You would never go 3 days without food and expect to feel energized, strong, or healthy. So why do so many people go days, or even weeks, without feeding their mind? The mind, like the body, thrives on nourishment. And what you feed it determines how it performs. Just like your physical diet influences your energy, strength, and health, your mental diet shapes your focus, attitude, creativity, decisions, and resilience. If you eat junk food every day, your body becomes weak and sluggish. If you consume mental junk, mindless scrolling, toxic news, gossip, negativity, your thoughts become cluttered. Your motivation drops, and your outlook narrows. On the other hand, if you give your mind strong, positive, useful content, books, ideas, challenges, conversations, you build strength, clarity, and direction. The truth is, your mind is always being fed something. The question is, are you choosing the menu, or are you letting the world choose it for you? You can't live off what you learned 5 years ago. Just like you can't eat a great meal today and expect it to sustain you all week. You can't rely on old knowledge to solve new problems. The world changes. Opportunities evolve. Challenges shift. So you've got to keep updating your thinking. That's why daily mental nutrition is so important. You don't have to study for hours every day. Even 10 to 15 focused minutes of reading, thinking, or listening can make a huge difference over time. One new idea, one new insight, one helpful reminder, that's all it takes to shift your day. You might say, I don't have time, but really it's not about time. It's about intention. You have time to check your phone. You have time to watch another episode. You have time to scroll through endless feeds. What if just a fraction of that time was redirected to feeding your mind something useful? Instead of waking up and going straight to your notifications, start your day with a few pages of a good book. Instead of filling every quiet moment with noise, spend 5 minutes reflecting on a new idea. Instead of just reacting to your day, prepare your mind to lead. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need a master plan. Just develop the daily habit of putting something good into your mind on purpose. And the compound effect of that habit is astonishing. It turn into weeks, weeks into months. And before long, you've grown into a stronger, wiser, more capable version of yourself. Here's another truth. What you feed your mind eventually shapes your identity. Read about discipline every day, and soon you'll begin to see yourself as disciplined. Surround yourself with success stories, and you'll start believing that success is possible for you too. Pour in positivity, and you'll find yourself responding to life's challenges with more grace and confidence. You are the product of your mental diet, so don't leave it to chance. Be intentional, curate what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, and who you spend time around. All of it is feeding your mind, or starving it. Start small, pick up one great book, subscribe to one educational podcast, journal for 5 minutes in the morning. Whatever it is, do it consistently. Let it become as natural as brushing your teeth or having breakfast. Because when you feed your mind daily, you prepare yourself not just to survive, but to succeed. And in a world that's constantly trying to distract, discourage, or derail you, feeding your mind is one of the most powerful things you can do to stay focused, energized, and unstoppable. Be a student of life, not just of books. Books are powerful. They're portable wisdom. They contain the thoughts and lessons of the greatest minds across centuries. But even the best books are only part of the equation. If you want real growth, you can't limit yourself to the pages of a textbook. You must learn to study life itself, to learn from experience, from observation, from people, from failure, from success, from the very world unfolding around you. Some of the most valuable lessons won't be found on a printed page. They'll be found in a conversation with someone who's been where you want to go. They'll be found in the struggle of building something from the ground up. They'll be found in the quiet reflection after a mistake, or in the satisfaction of doing something the right way, even when no one was watching. You have to keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your mind. Every situation, every challenge, every encounter is trying to teach you something, if you're paying attention. There's a difference between passive learning and active learning. Passive learning is when you sit and absorb facts, hoping something will stick. Active learning is when you engage with the world around you, looking for insights, patterns, principles. You observe, you ask questions, you try, you fail, you adjust, you try again. Life becomes your classroom, and the tuition, your time, your attention, and your willingness to stay humble. Humility is key here, because if you think you already know everything, you'll stop learning. You'll walk right past lessons that could have changed everything. But when you approach life like a beginner, with curiosity instead of ego, you become teachable, and teachable people pay attention to people who are winning, not just in business, but in relationships, in health, in peace of mind. Ask yourself, what are they doing differently? Watch their habits, listen to their words, study how they think, how they solve problems, how they handle setbacks. That's a form of education no classroom can give you. And don't just study others. Study yourself. One of the greatest forms of education is self-awareness. Why did I react that way? What could I have done differently? What worked well today? And that's not just journaling. It's investigation. It's mental training. And the more you understand yourself, the better you become at navigating the world around you. Be a student of your emotions, a student of relationships, a student of money, a student of discipline, a student of communication. These are life skills, not academic ones. And they matter far more than memorized facts or test scores. In the real world, it's not who knows the most facts, who wins. It's who knows how to apply what they've learned to real-world situations. And here's something else. Some of the best lessons come from the worst moments. Failure, disappointment, rejection. These are harsh teachers, but they are excellent ones. If you have the strength to reflect, to learn and to grow, those moments become some of your most valuable lessons. So yes, read the books, take the courses, attend the seminars, but don't forget to also study the everyday. Study life as it happens. Study your results. Study what works and what doesn't. And let every experience, good or bad, teach you something new. Because when you become a student of life, every day is a class, every person is a teacher, every challenge is a lesson, and every step becomes part of your education. And the beautiful thing is, you never graduate, because the learning never ends. And that's exactly how it should be. Consistency over intensity. That's one of the most important principles you can learn if you truly want long-term success in any area of your life. Whether you're trying to grow your skills, improve your mindset, build a business, or become the best version of yourself, consistency will always outperform bursts of intensity. Too many people wait for a wave of motivation to crash in. They get inspired, and suddenly they want to change their life in a weekend, so they go all in. Reading 5 books in 1 week. Hitting the gym twice a day, waking up at 4 a.m., journaling, meditating, drinking green smoothies, and by Friday they're exhausted, they burn out, fall off, and give up. The problem isn't effort. The problem is unsustainable effort. Intensity is exciting. It feels powerful. It gives you that emotional high, but without consistency, intensity fades. It's like sprinting full speed. Without building endurance, you might cover some ground quickly, but you won't last long. And growth doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do every day. Consistency might not look as glamorous. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. It doesn't always feel like a breakthrough, but it's steady. And that steadiness is what builds momentum. Progress comes in small daily actions repeated over time. A little bit of learning, little bit of practice, little bit of reflection. Every single day. That's where the transformation lives. Think of it like compound interest. You invest a little each day. 10 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of thinking, 20 minutes of learning a new skill. It doesn't seem like much at first, but do that for a year. That's 30-65 deposits into your mind, your habits, your future, and the results come. The person who studies for 20 minutes every day will always surpass the person who studies for 3 hours once a month. Why? Because they're building rhythm, routine, and resilience. They're reinforcing learning through repetition. They're creating a habit that becomes part of who they are. Consistency also builds trust. Trust in yourself. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you send a message to your mind. I follow through. I keep promises. I don't quit. That kind of trust is powerful. It turns discipline into identity. And when something becomes part of your identity, it becomes automatic. Now don't misunderstand. There's a place for intensity. There are moments in life when you need to push hard. Go all in and stretch your limit. But intensity without consistency is like a match. It flares up fast and burns out just as quickly. What you want is a fire that keeps burning quiet, steady, and strong. So don't worry about being perfect. Don't wait until you can dedicate hours a day to your goals. Start small. Start simple. Be consistent. 1 page a day, 1 podcast a week, 1 habit at a time. And if you miss a day, that's okay. Get back on track. Don't break the chain twice. Success is not about what you do occasionally. It's about what you do consistent. Remember this. The man or woman who wins is not the one who moves the fastest. It's the one who moves every day. Growth is not an event. It's a lifestyle. So commit to small, deliberate actions. Build the habit. Stay the course. Because when you choose consistency over intensity, you choose progress that lasts. You're either growing or falling behind. There is no standing still in life. No neutral gear. No pause button. Each day, you're either moving forward or slipping backward. Whether you realize it or not, the world is constantly changing, evolving, progressing. And if you're not growing with it, you're slowly being left behind. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Growth isn't optional. It's essential. The moment you stop learning, stop stretching, stop challenging yourself, you begin to decline. Not all at once. Not in some dramatic fashion, but slowly, quietly. 1 missed opportunity at a time. 1 delayed decision. 1 excuse. 1 more day of good enough. You can't stay where you are forever. The job market changes. Technology advances. Relationships evolve. New problems arise. Old solutions stop working. What worked last year may not work this year. And if you're relying on yesterday's knowledge, you'll struggle in today's world. That's why personal growth has to be a daily commitment, not a once-a-year goal, not a New Year's resolution, but a lifestyle, a mindset, a decision you make every day to keep moving forward. No matter how small the step, it could be reading a few pages of a great book. It could be listening to a podcast while driving. It could be learning a new skill, reflecting on your day, asking better questions, or surrounding yourself with people who stretch your thinking. It doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be consistent. Because when you choose growth, you choose progress, and progress creates momentum, and momentum changes your life. The opposite is also true. When you don't grow, when you stay in your comfort zone, when you resist change, life doesn't just wait for you to catch up. It keeps moving. And suddenly, you find yourself frustrated, feeling stuck, disconnected, or irrelevant. Not because you're not capable, but because you've stopped growing. Growth is not just about ambition. It's about survival, especially in today's fast-moving world, where skills expire quickly and new ideas dominate the landscape. The people who keep growing stay sharp. They stay valuable. They stay ready. Look around at the most successful people, whether in business, leadership, health, or creativity, and you'll notice something. They never stop learning. They never settle. They're always looking for the next edge, the next lesson, the next level. Not because they have to, but because they've learned something vital. Growth is the key to staying alive in the game. And here's the good news. You don't have to compare your growth to anyone else's. This is your race, your pace, your path. But make no mistake, you do have to keep moving, even if it's slow, even if it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. That discomfort, that's the sign of growth. That's the stretch. That's where the learning happens. Lean into it. Ask yourself, what am I doing today to grow? Not next week, not when things settle down, not when you feel ready. Today, because the choice you make today determines who you become tomorrow. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you start to decline. Stay humble, stay hungry, keep learning, keep improving, keep reaching. There's always another level, another layer of potential to uncover, another part of yourself to unlock. So don't coast, don't cling to yesterday, don't assume you're safe. Because things seem okay, choose to grow, on purpose, with purpose, because every day you're either growing
or falling behind. And the difference between success and regret is which one you choose.